Alexander's unorthodox approach to the battle has thrown the Persian army into disarray and has opened a gap in their line. But how can he exploit it?
Like all great field commanders, he feels the moment when that door opens.
In an amazing move, Alexander turns his entire cavalry 160 degrees and charges toward the gap in the Persian line. The hidden peltasts now emerge and attack the Persian horsemen in a hail of slings, javelins, and arrows, preventing the Persian horsemen from pursuing Alexander and his cavalry.
I'm sure that from Darius's point of view, he must have been sitting there sending his chariots out, sending his cavalry out, and just waiting for Alexander to be steamrolled over. And then suddenly he looked up, and there was Alexander's companion cavalry.
Alexander personally was at the apex of the cavalry wedge. In every battle, he was in harm's way.
Alexander and his cavalry charge into the gap, forcing their way through the line. The phalanx is the anvil. The cavalry is now the hammer. The Persian infantry is smashed between them. The Macedonian phalanx find no resistance. They charge forward. The Persian army breaks and begins to run. With the Persian center broken, Alexander has one goal now, the most ancient goal of all warfare: kill the king.
The battle at Gaugamela was fought with the idea that Alexander would meet Darius mano a mano, one-on-one, kill him, mount his head on a cavalry spike.
Alexander realized that if you could cut the head off the snake, the rest of the snake would die.
But just as Alexander was within striking distance of the fleeing Darius, a sudden change stops his pursuit. Alexander learns that Parmenio's troops are near collapse and may soon be overwhelmed. They need Alexander's help. Alexander must now make a decision that could change the outcome of the battle: kill the king or save his troops. After Alexander breaks through the Persian front line, Darius turns and flees from Gaugamela. Now, Alexander faces the decision of a lifetime.
Alexander needed to chase Darius. He needed to behead him. He needed to kill him.
Darius was nearly within Alexander's reach, yet the Macedonian left wing needed immediate help. It was a difficult choice for a 26-year-old intent on conquering the world.
He made the smart decision. He turned, left Darius to flee, and saved his army. Alexander ran directly into a wall of confused soldiers falling to the rear.
There's no question that he was an active fighting commander who went in harm's way and reveled in it.
Alexander's rescue of Parmenio was one of the hardest fought parts of the battle. Alexander himself suffered combat wounds the equal of any of his veterans. For Alexander, the moment is bittersweet.
He rescued his left. He saved his army. And he won the battle at Gaugamela.
By late afternoon, the battle was over, and the legend of Alexander had begun.
For Alexander, the Battle of Gaugamela was, you might say, the final decisive battle. In fact, after this, Alexander begins to take for himself the titles of the Persian great king.
Alexander continued traveling east, conquering the rest of the Persian Empire, crossing the deserts of present-day Afghanistan to conquer the armies of India.
And the reason he kept going, I think, was that he just wanted to do things that nobody had ever done, to leave an undying fame and undying glory.
He never lost a battle. He was the most successful commander that we study in the Western world.
He was a brilliant tactician. He was a brilliant statesman. He was a charismatic individual that sort of exuded an aura about him of power.
If I were making the list of great commanders, I would put Alexander at the top. I truly think he deserves the title great.
Some sources say that over 1,000 Macedonians were killed at Gaugamela, while the Persian casualties may have been as high as 50,000. Darius escaped into the surrounding mountains, only to be murdered within the year by one of his own generals. Alexander declared himself Lord of Asia, and no one could deny that fact any longer.
Alexander was great because he had such clarity in his goals. He managed to infect the people around him with such love for him and desire to accomplish his missions that it was a tidal wave of force that couldn't be stopped. And that's the mark of a great man.
Alexander lived only 6 more years, and when he died at age 32, he had conquered the entire known world. The prophecy at Gordium turned out to be true. Alexander the Great's unusual strategies proved to be as effective against armies and empires as they were against the Gordian knot.
He was a heroic leader, and he led a heroic people. And in a world that did not believe in an afterlife, how else does one achieve immortality than by writing oneself into the history books? And in that regard, Alexander is immortal.
At the Battle of Gaugamela, a young man, only 26 years old, had earned the title of Alexander the Great.